Team USA basketball just bounced back at the FIBA World Cup with a blowout win against Italy. So on to the semifinals now. So let's talk some international basketball with Bryan Fonseca, who is a contributor to the Action Network and the NewYorkPost.com. Bryan, you got the theme. They were playing Italy. You wearing the Italian fashion with the nice shirt, man. Thanks for joining us. I like to see it. Let's get straight into this. It was a bounce-back game from the Lithuania loss. What are your thoughts on the win against Italy?
Yeah, I didn't think this Italian team was very good, even coming into the tournament. And this is the reason why I had the Dominican Republic as my sleeper to win that group, which they did, even though they didn't get to the quarterfinals like I predicted. But it was very close. And, you know, with Italy, I just don't think that they were going to pose a threat to Team USA. Also because the style of play, like, they don't impose their physical will, their physicality on Team USA because they're not necessarily a big team. Lithuania is a big team. And the reason why they were able to beat Team USA is because they were big, they were physical, they would drain you out just mentally, physically, and wear on you and all those things. Italy doesn't really do any of that. They play a little bit more of a finesse style of basketball, this team at least, and they don't have their best players. There are a lot of teams missing some of their best players, and ultimately, I thought the Team USA played their best, probably start to finish performance, because my whole thing with this team was, are they going to get going earlier? Because in a lot of their games, they have been sort of dragging it out, then pulling away in like the second half and the third quarter. They were able to put their foot on Italy's throats very early on in this game, didn't let up. And I thought it was their most impressive performance of the World Cup so far.
All right, so Italy didn't pose a threat, but next up for the USA is the winner of Wednesday's matchup between Germany and Latvia. So do any one of these teams pose a threat to the U.S.?
Germany is interesting because Dennis Schroeder is their point guard, and Team USA has a hard time guarding Dennis Schroeder because of his speed, because of his quickness, because of his shooting ability, how he can create. Not a lot of guys in this tournament can do what Dennis Schroeder can do. Franz Wagner has been hurt, and we'll see if he plays against Latvia. We'll see if he plays beyond that, potentially against Team USA. Germany is the better team here. However, Latvia has wins over Spain and France, both of whom were expected to go deep into this tournament, and Latvia is the reason they didn't ultimately. And this team is very tough. They're missing Darius Bertans, but they're still very, I would say, well-oiled machine, well-balanced. They can do a little bit of everything and can really impose their physicality. Their variance is really off the charts, and they can shoot their way into a game. They can shoot their way out of a game. They have Zagers, the point guard, who's becoming a star in this tournament. They're a very, very good team, and I think they can give Germany some problems and potentially Team USA.
Well, another team that's shot their way into clinching a spot for the Paris Olympics is Team Canada. It's led by Knicks forward R.J. Barrett. So they're going to represent their country in the Olympics for the first time since the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. They're going to play Luka Doncic in Slovenia on Wednesday in the quarterfinals. I guess I'm asking you, can Team Canada, win this thing,
Canada's good. Defensively, they have probably the highest ceiling in this tournament. And I think that they could win this tournament potentially, but you have to beat Slovenia in order to do that. And the thing with Luka Doncic is he's probably the best player in this tournament. He also has Mike Tobey, who is going to be physical and tough rebounding against this Canadian basketball team, who has bigs. They have Dwight Powell, they have Kelly Olynyk, but I wouldn't call either of them elite rebounders for their position. Mike Tobey is a very effective rebounder that they're going to have to try and keep off the glass. And then with Canada, I'm not really sure if, you can sort of underrate Slovenia here just because it's like, oh, it's only Luka Doncic, Mike Tobey, perhaps. And like, no, Luka Doncic makes some of these guys better on his team in a way that he isn't able to with Dallas Mavericks because just a different style of play, I suppose. But the Slovenia team is going to be very, very ferocious. I think that they're going to be, trying to spread Canada's defenders out and shoot their way into the game. It's going to be tough. It's a tough game to score. It's a handicap, so to speak, because Canada's a pretty distant 9-point favorite as of this recording. And I think that Canada should win this game. But look, they lost to Latvia. No, they didn't lose to Latvia. They lost to Brazil. And they beat Latvia. They've had some sort of up and down games in this tournament. They nearly lost to Spain. That was the game that they probably should have won more handily because Spain doesn't really have the talent that they did last tournament when they had the World Cup victory. So I think ultimately Slovenia can keep this game tight, but Canada should win.
Really quick, has this been probably the most even or competitive FIBA World Cup we've seen in a long time?
It's a competitive one, but unfortunately, there are just a lot of guys missing from a lot of teams. Like there are people who root for Team USA. They're like, hey, if Team USA had their A squad, and it's like there are a lot of teams that don't have their A squad. Serbia, who's also in the semifinals, are missing Nikola Jokic. They're missing Micic. They're missing Boban Marjanovic. They're missing Nemanja Bjelica. Like they're missing some of their best guys on that team, and they still outdid the performance that they had in 2019. But I think it's been a very fascinating World Cup, an entertaining World Cup, and a reminder that listen, anybody can sort of win this tournament to some extent, right? Like it's more of a March Madness style tournament than an NBA playoff style tournament. And the depth and versatility of all these teams has been a pleasure to watch. And hopefully for the 2027 World Cup, we see more of the best players from some of the countries competing on the rosters as well. And before that, we even have the Paris Olympics, and we'll see which 12 teams sort of make that field. We already know 6 of them, and we're going to find out a couple more before this ends because the best 2 European teams will be there for sure. I suppose Serbia has already clinched a spot to some degree, but, we'll have to see what Canada does.
Well, hats off the way you just pronounced all those foreign names, man. You the real MVP for that. Bryan, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, anytime.